All right, in this video I'm going to show you how to replace on a four-wheel drive axle. This particular truck is a 2008 F350 Super Duty. On the front-wheel drive axle, when you remove the axle from the vehicle, you have to change the seal on the outer part where it goes into to the back of the steering knuckle. To get the seal off is fairly simple. Most of the time you can just usually hit them and knock them right off. It doesn't matter because you're going to be replacing it anyway. So you can get underneath here with a chisel and tap it up, or you can just hit it a couple of times and it'll come right off. It doesn't matter because you're going to be replacing it. Once you have the seal off, then we need a tool to put the new seal back on. So let me get the new seal and I'll get right back. Okay, I'm going to show you how to change a universal joint on a front-wheel drive axle on a Ford. This one is a 2008 F350 Super Duty. You can use a hydraulic press to do it if you have one. If not, I'm going to show you how I usually do them even without a hydraulic press. You put it into a vise, and what you basically want to do is you want to hit down the top of this drive shaft. So you just hit it up on top. Couple of good shots and you'll see that it starts to move down. I might add that when you're doing these jobs, make sure you have your safety goggles on, because as you can see, sometimes little pieces of metal come flying off. You don't want to get them in your eyes. So make sure you wear your goggles. And once they start to move, the caps pop right out. And if they get stuck in there and you can't get it out, you can just turn it. And the same thing on here. And that pushes them all out of the way. Little by little we'll get them out. So don't hit this area here, because that's where your new seal is going to be going back onto. As you can see, a lot of times they're pretty rusty and a little difficult to get out, but if you just keep working it, you'll see it slowly pushes out. And the cap comes right off. And then you rotate it around and you do the same thing to get this other cap out too. You just tap it. Okay, now that we got everything apart, we're just going to lube this up a little bit in here, and then we'll start putting it back together. This is what the old joint looks like when it came apart. It was pretty beat up and it was hard to get it out, but if you just keep on working it, you'll get it out of there. The new joint, of course, you take your caps off the new joint, so all the caps come off. And what I always do to keep all these needle bearings from falling down the side here, they're greased already, but I always put a little bit more grease in there. Keeps the needle bearings from moving around. You just grease it up really inside so that the bearings won't move. The way I always do it is I always take the joint, put the joint into the housing like this, lift it all the way up as far as you can, take your new journal, put it over the top, and you'll feel it slide in. And what you're going to do is you're just going to tap it in very lightly and hold. You're going to hold the universal joint up into that bearing cap itself and just tap it in. You don't have to hit it hard. It'll go in fairly easy. It'll go in fairly easy. Just keep tapping it. What I always do is tap it through a little further than you want it to. I'm going to show you why. See how it pushed in a little bit further? It's about 1/4 of an inch in. The reason I do that is 2 reasons. One, so I can get this next journal over the top of this without knocking down any of the needle bearings. And 2, I can just tap my lock clip in very easily on this side over here. So you just hold your lock clip in, and you tap it in, and it goes right into where it belongs. And what I do is turn this over, lift this up very little, not too far, slide your journal over the top, and you'll feel it go in. And the reason that you're doing that is because if one of those little needle bearings falls down inside this cap, you're going to put this on here and you're not going to be able to get your lock rings in place right here. So by lifting the joint up a little bit and sliding the bearing cap over it, I know none of the needle bearings fell down. And then what you do is just tap it down until it becomes flush over here. I always use a pointy hammer so you don't damage the ends at all. And you'll hear when it's in, the sound changes. Now what we're going to do is we're going to slide our lock clip on. We're going to slide our lock clip on here. And put it on, and just tap it in. Okay, let me just show you real quick. See how the clip goes right into the groove where it belongs? You want to make sure that that clip is locked in all the way, that it's not just sitting on the outside of it. All right, let me get started on the other one now. Okay, now you remember how we did the journal. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to take the joint, fit it on here like this. Right, we'll leave it over the top. And you take your bearing cap, you slide it over the top of the joint itself, and then you lift up on the yoke, and then you just tap down on this cap and lift up on the yoke at the same time. Like I said, about tapping it through a little bit further than you want to, so you can put on your clip onto your axle right here, onto your joint. See, the reason you tap it through further is 2 parts. So you can put your clip on, which you just put on here like this, and you could push it in by hand, or you could hammer it in. All right, then we get that clip in place to where it's supposed to be, and we just turn the axle over. And remember how I said we want to have this protruding out through the top a little bit, and the reason for that is because if this slides out of the journal down here from the joint itself, it's not going to knock over all these needle bearings that are inside there. So what you want to do now is you want to just let it come down just a little bit so that this sticks all the way through. Slide your bearing cap over it. Make sure all your needle bearings are in place. Then you lift up on the bottom of the joint and just tap this gently until it's nice and tight. And you just sit it on top of the vise and you just tap down this cap until it's flush down inside here. Don't damage the outside edge of it. You want to hit it always in the center so you don't damage it and flatten it out. And then once you've got it in, all the way in, then you're going to take your final lock ring and you got to put it on here and tighten it in. Okay, everything is in just as it's supposed to be. The last thing we're going to do is we're going to put the grease fitting back into the new joint right here, and just screw it in all the way. Get our grease fitting in, and then we're all set. All right, so you have the caps are all in, the lock clips are all on. Then we're going to put a little bit of grease in it. We'll put it back in the car, and that's it. Everything is just as it's supposed to be. Okay, and to reinstall the seal, it's really not so hard if you have the right tool for it. Now this fits over there pretty snug, and I've seen guys already that'll take a hammer and they'll tap on this trying to get the seal in there. Sometimes you can get it in, sometimes you can't. But if you have the right tool, it makes it a lot easier. Okay, so what we'll do is just lube this up just a tiny little bit with grease. We're going to put the seal onto the housing like that. And they sell this tool. It's made specifically for that. It goes right over the top, fits right on there, and then you just tap it down until the seal is flush. I'll show you how it goes. this down. As you can see, this tool here fits onto the top of this metal piece without damaging the seal on the outside. And then once you hammer it down all the way down, you know you're in as far as it goes when you see it's in here and it's flush. That's it. Fairly easy when you have the right tool. And now we're going to install the axle back into the truck. I'll show you how to do that. Okay. You put this back into the car, into the truck itself, is you take the axle and you slide the axle into the axle tube. We're going to put a light film of grease inside here so that it slides in a little easier without damaging the seal. You don't need a lot, just a little bit. The axle, slide it in. And then just put it into the knuckle. Take your tool, put it on the front. It goes in, and then you just take a hammer and you hit it until this is flush with the steering knuckle itself. With the right tool, it just saves you a bunch of time. So I'll show you how easy it is with the right tool. And you can hear the sound changes. Take the tool out, and your axle is in. See? And the axle's in just as exactly as far as the seal is supposed to be without damaging the seal, and then we just put the rest of it back together. It's not too bad when you have the correct tool. I bought this quite some time ago, and this is probably one of my favorite tools. For without this, you're going to go crazy. First time I did it, it just took me forever. So, alright, you hammer it in, and you're good to go. Alright, now we'll put the rest of it back together, and we'll be all set. Alright, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.